As this chamber gavels back into session, we must redouble our efforts before the end of the calendar year. As the pandemic increases in severity, so does the economic pain felt by countless working families and small business owners. In a few short weeks, several provisions of the CARES Act, including student loan forbearance, eviction moratoriums, jobless benefits for millions of workers, will expire. So first and foremost, on the Senate's to-do list is COVID relief. Both sides should come together and negotiate a COVID relief bill in a bipartisan way that meets the needs of our businesses, our schools, our healthcare systems, our workers, our families. At the start of this crisis, Democrats came together in a flurry of negotiations. I was thickly involved with them with Secretary Mnuchin to pass a bill that truly met the moment. Now we're about to reach a new, more difficult stage of the crisis. We need to renew that spirit, that urgency, that bipartisanship. Leader McConnell's view, just stated a few minutes ago, seems to be that the only things that should be in this bill are things Republicans approve of, even if the needs of the country, the desperate needs of the country, are beyond the small list that Republicans might support. And that is not real compromise. We need to come together. Both sides must give. We have a Democratic House, and in the Senate, there's a need for Democratic votes to pass any bill. So we need a true bipartisan bill, not this is our bill, take it or leave it, that can bring us together and solve the desperate needs of the American people, which we all very much want to solve. The second item on our to-do list is federal appropriations, which expire in 2 weeks. As we speak, appropriators from both sides in the relevant committees continue their negotiations. It's my hope and expectation that we can come to an agreement very soon. Third and finally, Congress should pass the annual defense bill. As our country prepares for a peaceful transfer of power, the continuity of our national security is paramount. For nearly 60 years, Congress has never failed to pass the annual defense bill. But this year, it seems the normally uncontroversial legislation has hit a snag. President Trump has threatened to veto the bill over a provision that would rename military bases and installations named after Confederate military leaders, men who would rend this country in half to preserve the institution of slavery, men who literally fought against this nation's military in pursuit of an ignoble cause. For that, a provision to rename our military bases to honor actual heroes rather than traitors to our country, President Trump is threatening to veto a pay raise for our troops. And it seems that Republicans in Congress are slow-walking the bill in hopes of finding some way to appease the outgoing president rather than just passing the bill over his rather ridiculous objection. The provision to rename these installations was included in both the House and Senate-passed versions of the bill, and the larger bill passed both chambers with broad bipartisan support. There's no reason to further delay a pay raise for our military heroes, our living military heroes, because President Trump wants to honor dead Confederate traitors. The other provision that's at risk, shockingly, from our Republican colleagues, is an amendment to assist veterans who have long suffered from their exposure to Agent Orange in the Vietnam War. The amendment passed this chamber with 94 votes in favor, a rare and near unanimous demonstration of bipartisan support. The Trump administration's own VA advisory panel recommended this policy to improve health care for these veterans. But for some reason, our Republican counterparts are now reportedly trying to strip it from any final agreement. It would be an affront to a group of ailing veterans who suffered enough already to strip a provision that would help provide them adequate health care. And now on President-elect Biden's nominees. As President-elect Biden prepares to assume office on January 20th, he's beginning to announce a slate of qualified, experienced public servants who he intends to nominate to his cabinet or other key administrative positions. This morning, the President-elect announced that he has assembled his core economic team, led by another Brooklyn native, Janet Yellen, who would be the first woman to ever hold the title of Treasury Secretary. The President-elect's economic team clearly has the experience, the knowledge, the prowess to meet the seriousness of this moment. More than that, they understand the needs of all Americans because they represent all different kinds of Americans. They'll get to work not just on rebuilding our economy, but striving to provide greater and more equitable prosperity to future generations. Alongside the President-elect's deeply experienced national security team and his soon-to-be-announced health team, his economic team will ensure that the incoming Biden-Harris administration will hit the ground running. Everyone knows that the Senate plays a pivotal role in confirming a new president's cabinet. In the midst of this once-in-a-century crisis, it's imperative the next administration can count on the Senate to confirm its cabinet without delay. So hearings on President-elect Biden's nominees should begin in January, immediately after the Georgia runoff elections. Let me say that again. The Senate should begin hearings on President-elect Biden's nominees in January, immediately after the Georgia Senate elections, so that key cabinet officials can be confirmed on January 20th and soon thereafter, which is traditional for a new president. Senate committees held hearings for President Obama's nominees and President Trump's in early January before the inauguration. Majority and minority staff should begin preparation for those hearings as President-elect Biden names his cabinet. Now, President-elect Biden's slate of intended nominees provides a stark contrast to the caliber of nominees advanced by the current Trump administration over the past 4 years. The early days of the Trump presidency were defined by high-level appointments of individuals who were manifestly unqualified, plagued by ethical complaints, or swimming in conflicts of interest, sometimes all three. At the time, Republicans in the Senate lined up to confirm President Trump's appointments, arguing that a president deserves his cabinet and broad deference on his nominees. I would hope the same deference will be extended to President-elect Biden's nominees, especially considering the obvious gulf in quality, experience, ethics. Already, however, the Republicans are twisting themselves into pretzels to explain their reflexive opposition to these outstanding selections. Neera Tanden, who would be the first woman of color to ever run the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, is so eminently qualified that some on the Republican side, grasping at straws, have taken issue with comments made on Twitter criticizing the policy positions of Republicans in Congress. Honestly, the hypocrisy is astounding. If Republicans are concerned about criticism on Twitter, their complaints are better directed at President Trump, who has made a hobby out of denigrating Republican senators on Twitter. I fully expect to see some crocodile tears spilled on the other side of the aisle over President-elect's cabinet nominees, but it will be very tough to take those crocodile tears seriously. Our Republican colleagues are on the record supporting some of the least qualified, most unethical, and downright sycophantic federal nominees in recent memory. Many defended the conduct of previous OMB Director Russell Vought, who allowed foreign aid to be held up for political reasons, resulting in the president's impeachment. Right now, Republicans in Congress are looking the other way, while President Trump pardons a man who pled guilty to the FBI. So again, it will be impossible to take these overblown complaints over President-elect Biden's nominees very seriously. Given the urgent need to address COVID-19 and its economic fallout, the Senate should follow precedent and promptly hold hearings on President-elect Biden's nominees in January, immediately after the Georgia elections, before inauguration. The American people cannot afford to wait to have its government working at full force to keep them safe, defeat the virus, and get our economy back on track. I yield the floor.
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Under the previous order, the Senate will be in a period of morning business until 5 p.m., with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.